What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about if we should be worried about Ghost of Tsushima. Now, I've made quite a few videos about Ghost of Tsushima in the past. I really enjoy making those videos, and in this one, I want to take a slightly less than optimistic approach. Normally, I'm actually very high on this game. I actually really do believe in it, and I'm very excited to eventually see it. I have a lot of hopes in this game, and I do, in a way, trust Sucker Punch and want to see their finished product. So I just want to kind of throw it out there just to begin this. I'm very high on this game, but the question should be asked, really should be asked, of should we be worried about this game? Because for all of the, I can be Mr. Optimistic, I can be Mr. Positive for you guys all day long, but at the same time, you look at the game, and there are definitely worrisome signs. The first of which, honestly, the very first thing that jumps out at me as being a worrisome thing is the development of this game. It's the biggest thing. We haven't even, and we'll talk about what we actually have seen of Ghost of Tsushima and talk about that approach, but just from everything that's happened behind closed doors, and you could say, well, you don't know this, or like a lot of things could just be generally unknown, right? But at the same time, we can read into it that it seems like it's had a pretty troubled development time. Now, having a troubled development doesn't immediately mean that the game is going to be bad. And in fact, again, I'm kind of just taking the opposite side, just trying to look at the opposite side. I actually do believe in this game. I do believe this game is going to be, at the worst, a pretty solid game. So I don't think this is going to happen, but I do feel like it's definitely worthy of talking about it. The development of this game has been very troublesome. I truly think they've gone through some things since Infamous Second Son. I feel like there's been some rejected or canceled ideas in there. I know a lot of people have pointed out that they've even said that no, they worked on Ghost of Tsushima right after Infamous Second Son. I don't believe that. I feel like they're hiding something. I feel like that's just not being talked about. I have nothing to go off of based only the fact that that's just what I think. It's just my opinion. So if I'm wrong or if you don't agree, that's totally cool. But in my mind, I really find it hard to believe that they've been making this game ever since Second Son. I feel like there was at least talks of another Infamous game, and I feel like there was some just like searching of how do we make a really solid game, because I feel like they were hit pretty hard by what happened with Second Son, and obviously that is a worrisome thing as well for a lot of people going into Ghost of Tsushima is how much do you trust Sucker Punch? And we can totally talk about that in a different video, but that's another very worthy thing to talk about. How much should we, put stock into Sucker Punch? Are they an elite gaming developer anymore? They used to be with Sly and then obviously with Infamous afterwards, but they've been hit. They've taken some steps backwards. So how much do we trust them? But just the development time in general, it's been years. It's been so many years since Second Son. And, and also we kind of know from behind closed doors, from rumors, from insiders, that this game has been internally delayed multiple times. And you look at it now, and we've talked about it, could it be a cross-generation game? Like, could it come out for PS5 and PS4 next fall? And that's all fine, and I've talked about that it's actually a cool thing. Like, Sony it just happened to fall on Sony's lap. That's like, hey, you wanted another game to help sell your new console? Well, it just so happens that, you wanted Ghost of Tsushima out a year ago, but here it is now, and it's because it's been delayed 15 times, and here it is, and now you can have it on PS4 and PS5. It's a great game that you can now market for your next console. So, like, they walked into that problem on accident, right? They didn't even mean to do that, and so they walked into a pretty good situation, but at the same time, that is in a way a negative. The game has been delayed so many times internally, and again, you could look at it on the reverse side. Delays aren't always bad things. In fact, I'm a big fan of delays. I don't want all my favorite games to get delayed, but if a game's going to get delayed, I'm not writing it off. I'm not saying, oh, the game's going to suck. Normally, these kind of delays do end up helping the game massively. So I actually do see it as a good thing. I see it as they really want to take their time. Sony wants to give them the best shot at making this game. Okay, the best shot at making it the best it could possibly be. So that's how you could look at it from the positive. But the negative is, hey, the game's been in development for a while. It's definitely been delayed a few times. That is worrisome. No matter what, that is worrisome. And in terms of development, that's pretty much all we can go off of. The final thing is just what we've seen. And I don't know where people set their expectations for it. And that's going to be one of the biggest things with Ghost of Tsushima in general is I don't, Death Stranding is a game like we've never played before. And saying that isn't even a far reach, right? I mean, sometimes you'll play a game and people will be like, man, you've never seen something like this before. And it's like, all right, well, you're kind of exaggerating. Like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. People say that about games, about movies all the time. Rarely is it actually true. It is sometimes, and maybe some people have just truly never seen it done again, but it's not true every time. And when you say it for, like, say, Death Stranding, again, it's not a reach. That is true. Like, yeah, there's indie games that are weird and far out ideas and those kind of things, but there's never been a AAA game that's done and been bold enough and been allowed to do what Death Stranding did, okay? And love it or hate it. If you hate the game, that's totally cool, but no matter what, we can all look at it and say, that was bold, right? That's a different kind of game, a game that's never been done before. Getting back to Ghost of Tsushima, what I'm trying to say about it is, like, what are we expecting? Like, Infamous obviously has that feel, has that name. We know what we're getting from an Infamous game. And when they first showed the gameplay of Ghost of Tsushima, I do feel like there was a divide. I don't feel like there was it's hard. I personally will say, from what I've seen on the internet, I guess likes on the YouTube video is another thing as well. And obviously there's a lot of support for this game, I feel like now. I feel like there's a lot of people very, very interested in this game. I don't feel like it was a mass amount of people being like, this is just absolutely amazing. I'm sold on it. Like, sign me up. I don't think there was that. I feel like most people were okay with what they saw, but not too many people were, like, blown away. Seen a lot of people saying, like, well, look at the trees and look at the grass and, like, those kind of, like, engine mechanics. Those are pretty cool. Yeah, they are, but they also look completely unfinished, which is fine because it was a game that's, they showed that last E3. By the time the game actually comes out, it'll be out 2 years after, more than 2 years after we saw that. So I don't expect the game to be completely done. But for my opinion, what I saw of that trailer was a game that didn't look close to being done, didn't even look remotely close, and looked cool. Like, I liked it. I didn't think it was absolutely amazing, though. I'm going to buy it day one because I respect Sucker Punch. I love the Infamous games. I didn't like Infamous Second Son, but I did like First Light. But I believe in them. I believe that they can give us a good game. That's why I'm getting it day one. If I wasn't in this industry, if I didn't make YouTube videos, if I didn't know who Sucker Punch, like, if I couldn't connect the dots of what Sucker Punch had done, I don't know if what I've seen of Ghost of Tsushima would be enough to make me buy the game. I really don't. I really, really don't. And I do think that actually is a problem. So that is a worrisome thing. Have they even shown enough to get people to buy the game? I actually believe no. I think, but again, look, now that was pretty negative. On the positive side, there's still time, and they're going to increase the amount of stuff that they show us. Once the game has a release date, once the game kind of comes out of hiding and says, hey, we're back and we're going to start talking about this game a lot, enthusiasm is going to pick up. You look at games, really a lot of Sony games do a phenomenal job at building up that excitement. Days Gone was a game that originally when it was first announced, so many people jumped on it, but then it fell off a cliff. I don't know if you guys knew that or kind of like saw that online, but I definitely did. The game fell off a cliff. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody cared. And then once they started doing those, like, development diaries on YouTube, and once they started doing those, like, weekly videos, the enthusiasm picked up through the roof. People were saying, oh, this is easily going to be game of the year. And whether or not you say that it is, I don't think it is, but even if you do, it doesn't matter. They built that enthusiasm up rather fast. Same thing with Death Stranding. That game gained a lot of steam. There was always kind of intrigue and interest in that game, but that game gained a lot of steam just in, say, like the last 6 months before it came out. So they can do it. It's actually pretty easy for Sony. They're very, very good at that. So I'm not worried about that part. I'm not worried about the ability that Ghost of Tsushima can get built up and can get people excited once it actually comes out of hiding. The worrisome thing is what we've gotten so far. We've known the game's in development for quite some time, and really, gameplay-wise, we've gotten, like the 8-9 minutes that I show you guys every time, because there's really nothing else I can show you about the game, because this is it. This is all there is on the game. And so what we've gotten so far, that is a little worrying. So there's definitely things. Again, you can look at it positively, you can look at it negatively. I normally look at a lot of things positively, okay? But I do like to sometimes say, well, let's give the negative side a chance. Let's see what they're looking at. And there is definitely things to be worried about. At the same time, I feel confident that it's going to be okay. I don't think this is like a game of the generation, game of the year, but it doesn't have to be. The Last of Us Part 2 is next year's big thing for Sony, and obviously the PS5. It should be like a renaissance kind of thing for Sucker Punch. Like, we should start to see them come back and start to see, like, oh, they are like one of the best out there. Again, they need to do that, but it's not really the biggest goal that I think Sony has for 2020. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Are you worried about this game? If so, what are you worried about? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel podcast now. Hit that bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And thank you as always for watching. You guys really seem to like these Ghost of Tsushima videos. I love making them, and I will continue making them as long as you guys support it. So make sure you guys share, like, subscribe, all that good social media kind of stuff on YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all on the next video.